Hi, this is Bill Wynn with Lead Capture Page Boss, and in this tutorial video we're going to take a more extensive look at the HTML form code. What exactly is it for? How do you work with it? How do you change it and even get different languages on it? So what we're going to do is go to the HTML code, and what you do is either use this drop-down menu, and here it is, HTML form code, or if you're on your dashboard, you'll find it on the left-hand side down under System Tools. Now, what we have here is various default variables that are already set into the system. You'll see them here. However, you can add as many more fields as you would like. So if one of those things that's important to you is how much time can you work, say per week, you can add that. And once you update the form, you'll be able to see that that goes onto your form here. Okay. Now that's a little bit open where you can actually get a more refined answer by using some of the other items here on the form. So we have these here, so if you were to check all of these and click Update Form, you'll see that the form gets fairly long here with lots of information. Then you can add your own fields, and there's a number of different types of fields you can add. So when we see this is called a text box. Simple one line enter. However, we can also move into a text area, and let's put something like comments in here. That's pretty common, you've seen that, where now you have a box that people can type in and it'll keep going, right? So that's also good if you want to ask just for general information and give them a lot of space to type. The next thing we can do is we can also use one of these three. Now, a checkbox is good when you might say, check here to agree to the terms. Okay, and we'll update our form. But once they fill it out, you can also have a little link. You've seen that where there's a link to the terms and conditions or policies and procedures. And there's a link that says click here to go to those, and then check here to agree. So if you need to get some kind of an electronic signature for an agreement, you can use that. And let's take a look at another option. We have the radio button. Now the radio button is always going to give you choices. So let's go ahead and say, how much do you want to earn monthly? And once we update our form, we see that we start to get values. So let's say we do 500 to 1000 as one option, and I guess we would have to do 1001 to 2000, and we'll just do one more, 2001 to 3000. When we add that option, we're going to update our form, and now with the radio button you'll see that you get this kind of a look where they can only select one of these, and when the form is submitted you'll receive the email and you'll get the value that was selected. So that's one more way to get information. Very similar to this, you can use not a radio button but a drop down menu. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and update the form having chosen drop down, and then we want to come here, how much do you want to earn monthly, and they'll drop that down and select the answer, and then that value is submitted to you when you get the email about a new prospect at your capture page. So there you have the different items that you can use on the form as well as these simple text fields and adding any more that you would like. Now, if you need to get more than one drop-down select, or you want radio buttons and that, or you also want the text area, then you'll just go ahead and add another field using this link, and then choose your type, update your form, and then you'll be able to have your drop-down plus your comments. So anytime you want to add more of these, just use add a field and you'll continue to select those. So we could also now put in check here, and we could also add the radio buttons. Basically, how many hours per week can you work, and then we're going to go ahead and update that so we can begin to put in the values. Okay, so we have those new options in there, and we're going to update the form, and now you'll see that you're able to really create an extensive form with lots of questions, and there are people that will go ahead and do this to gather all of this important data before they call the person, so they have a real good idea, what the person's looking for and stuff like that. Now, we also have the ability to add a campaign. Now this is for tracking. So if you want to put a form on a blog, you'll be able to track that that's where it comes from on that blog. Or you may want to put a form on one page of a blog and then also on the sidebar. And so you can actually create different forms with different campaigns so you know which opt-ins are performing the best. So if I'm going to put WP blog, because I am going to show you how to add this to your blog. And then we're going to choose our lead group. So this is which autoresponder series you want these prospects to fall into once you create your form and they opt in. And the last thing is the redirect URL. So what this is would be, what is the page that you want to send people to after they fill out your form? So if they're on your blog, they fill out an opt-in form, say you're offering them a free ebook or a free audiobook, they'll fill it out. The data is transferred to the database where you're building your list. It creates the autoresponder series to be activated, and then it sends the tour taker back to a page. Now this is where you specify which page they're going to go to. So if you create a page on your blog that says thank you or welcome to the list, whatever it is, you may want to have your link on that page to go ahead and download the ebook. So I'm going to just say here, I'll put your blog, and let's just say that you use the page called thank you. Okay, and we update our form. Now we have a pretty extensive form here. Now let's say we want to take this form and we want to convert all of this text into a different language. So now what we're going to do is we're going to highlight all of our code. We can use select all and then copy. And I'm going to go ahead and open up Microsoft Word, and then I'm going to paste it into Microsoft Word. So here is all the code that makes up the form that you saw on the page. Now I'm going to go over this so that you get an idea of what you can do. So for example, first thing you can do, of course, is change this text, or you can add style. And you can do that with a WYSIWYG, or if you know some HTML, CSS, you can go ahead and edit that. In another video we did that you'll find on the news feed, we also went into adding styling to the input, where you can make sure that there's already a value in the field, or you can create a form field so that the text is there of what they're supposed to put in. You would delete this first name. You would add value equals, and then you could also add an onBlur type code, and that would go ahead and remove that text as soon as they click on the field. You can change the background of the field, you can add a border, you can change the font or the weight or the color of the font. So there's a lot of styling you can do, but that's not part of this tutorial. Now, what we really want to address here is, what do we do about another language? So say we want to change first name on our form. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Google Translate, and I'm going to go ahead and put in first name, and I happen to have Chinese selected, so let's take Chinese. So I'm going to highlight that, I'm going to copy it, go back to our Microsoft Word document, and I'm going to paste it over first name. Now let's go ahead and choose last name. And forgive me if these are not right, but it's what I have. I don't speak Chinese except for Xie Xie and Ni Hao Ma. So there we might have last name. Then we have email. That looks a lot longer than it should be for email versus last name. But now I'm going to go ahead and put in email. And then of course you're doing the same thing for phone and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is going to change the form that we'll see on the site. Now, let's go to a WordPress blog and actually create the form. First, I'm going to take our original code here. And how do you get the form to show up, say, on the sidebar of your WordPress blog? Well, what you want to do is use the widgets. Under Appearance, you'll see Widgets, and the widget we want to use is called Text. That allows for arbitrary text or HTML. So we're going to take the text widget, we're going to drag it to our sidebar, and I'm going to paste the HTML code into that widget. Now, when we go to our blog, we see the form here, and we'll see that it's in English, and here's all of our fields that we looked at. Here's our drop-down menu that we specified. Here's our check here. Here's our comment box. And here's our hours per week. And here's our submit button. Okay? Now, what I'm going to do is get the code from our document here that we've been editing. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go to our widget, highlight all the text in our widget, paste in the new code, go to our blog, and refresh. And now you'll see that we have Chinese characters here showing up on our form. Okay? So it's really quite simple. What I'm using is Google Translate. Or, of course, if you know the language, you can type it in yourself and simply then copying that over. Now, the next thing is, if we want to change these variables that show up in the selections, right? So if we have this selection, how do we change these? Now, we don't have words in here, but let's go ahead and say we're going to put words. So what we need to do then on our code is we need to change both this value here, oops, we're going to change this here, and we want to make it the same as this here. So we're just going to change from there, and we're going to change this, and they're going to be the same exact value. Okay, so let's go ahead and just get some different language. Let's go ahead and use Russian. There's telephone, and we're going to go ahead and copy that, and I'm going to add that where we have it specified. And I'm going to put it here as well. Now the reason that we want to put it in here is because this is what's going to show up when we receive the email. So I'm going to highlight all that. I'm going to go to our widget, highlight that, paste in our new code, save it, refresh our blog, and now you'll see telephone is one of the options in Russian. So there you have it. Now when somebody types in the comments, that's something that they just do from their own keyboard, and so it's going to receive the input language and characters that they have by default. Now one more thing on the form that you will most likely be wanting to change is the button. So when you have your button, now of course you can change this to an image, but we're going to stick with text. We have the value is submit. Well, the value is the text that shows on the button. So let's go to Google Translate and let's use submit. Now let's go ahead and take a different language. Let's go ahead and take Punjabi, and we're going to copy that, and we're going to come back to our code. We're going to choose the submit and paste in our Punjabi there. Now I'm going to highlight the entire code, come back to our widget, highlight the widget, paste our code in, save it, and now refresh. And you'll see that the submit button now has Punjabi characters in it. So essentially, that is how you go ahead and manipulate the code of the form after you have created it using the form editor. Now, if you try to go back to the form editor, you're going to lose all of these special characters you've added. So let's take a look at the rest of this. If you wanted to change these values as far as how many hours per week can you work, of course you can also just change the text there. And once you learn to see a form and what it looks like, it becomes easy to know. Then we also have our value 1 to 5. That's 1 to 5. And then we have value 5 to 10. And so you start to see a consistency here of the way it looks. Right? So what you'll see is this is our question. So you could actually just continue to do these input types by copying this and then you would go ahead and maybe you want to take away the 10 and you want to do 10 to 15 and then maybe 15 plus. Now what you also have to change is this value here, 10 to 15 and 15 plus. So I just added one more value without using the form editor, but now you begin to see how to do it here on your own. And we do want to change this as well. Okay, So there we have all of the input values for this question. Next, you can change your redirect URL by simply editing this value right here. So if you create another page or you want to send them to another offer, go ahead and change that and enter the full URL starting with the HTTP to your new page you want to send them to. Once you have all this code finished, you may want to change this so you have, say, blog sidebar, or for one, and then you might want to have blog header, or wherever you're placing your opt-in form. So you'll know, again, this is really key because this is going to help you know where your traffic is coming from, so you know where to focus on getting more traffic. Next, you have the group, and I would leave this, or you can get another group from the HTML editor, but this is determining what lead group the prospect is going to be put into. And it's a good idea to go ahead and get that from the form creator so you're not guessing. Next, we have this is your ID as an affiliate, so you don't want to change that, and then you don't want to change this. So we've really covered everything that there is to edit, from changing languages, changing all of this information, all the way down to changing your redirect, your campaigns, the submit button value. Now, for more detail on styling your form, go to the System News in your back office. You can go to your dashboard and come down here to News, and you'll see there's a video editing the HTML and styling of a capture form, where we actually go into editing some neat code for the form. One thing I might bring up is, you'll see it here, you don't use these special values like name equals tilde form phone, okay? That's not what you'd be using from this. You're just going to be using the style tag, and you can of course use the on focus and on blur. If you have any more questions, feel free to send a ticket into leadcapturepageboshelp.com, where you'll also find our knowledge base that should give you more ideas on how to do these things. Also, I'd like to encourage you to visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/leadcapturepageboss, and youtube.com/leadcapturepageboss. Subscribe, like us, so that you'll receive all of our updated videos and keep up to date with the latest and greatest from Lead Capture Page Boss.